So this is a video for the It Gets Better project, and I'm a 29-year-old lesbian who grew up in a small conservative town in the Mojave Desert. And you know, the town is it's kind of notorious. It's where, you know, any major anti-gay initiative in the country in the last 20 years has roots in that town. It's very, very conservative. And so I grew up out there and in that town and in that culture and in a household that was unsafe and unnurturing on top of being in that town. And I didn't know one out gay person, not one. I knew some that I thought were maybe gay, who, you know, years later when I left, I found out, yes, my hairdresser, this dancer, whoever was in fact gay, but like they were never out in the community or to me. And, you know, I was always aware from a very early age that I was different. And both in the sense of, you know, I wanted to go to college and I wanted to travel the world and I wanted to make the world better in a way that wasn't shared in vision in that town. This was always kind of like the weird kid, but I think I knew I was gay probably from, I mean, as early as I can remember. I mean, I always joke that it was, you know, all my friends were very into New Kids on the Block, I think is what they were called. Aging myself. I wasn't. I just had like Paula Abdul all over my bedroom walls because that was, you know, that was where my head was at. And I don't think I had the lingo for it because I didn't know what that looked like. But I just knew that I didn't want to marry some kid from my high school and live in that town. Like I couldn't even pretend that was what I wanted. And so, you know, there was no reflection of what could be. And I mean, it was awful. It was awful. I know so many of you are probably going through this right now. I didn't have anybody who I felt cared about me or supported me in any way, let alone my sexual orientation. And, you know, there was nobody I could talk to. I didn't feel safe. I wasn't really connecting with the people in that town. And even the ones that I did like, I was in this household where I wasn't, you know, nobody ever came over to my house or I could never go to anybody else's house. So I just spent a lot of years just hating life and feeling like I was born into this situation that didn't reflect anything of what I wanted my life to be. And so I saw the options, as you guys probably do, is pretty drastic, right? Like, how was I going to get through 4, 5, 6, however many years? And I was always counting down the years to the date. Like, can I make it? Can I make it? Like, I'm just going to go crazy. Like, I thought I would just go insane in that town. And so I spent that time, in addition to counting down, I read every book, every magazine, every article I could get my hands on. I watched more TV and movies than I do now. Just anything to create in my head some version of a reality that was not what was surrounding me. Like, I needed to believe there were other ways people lived and treated each other and loved each other. Even if I wasn't certain what that was. I just spent all this time essentially alone, locked in a room, daydreaming for years. And because I grew up without a lot of wealth and I didn't really have people around me going to college, I felt like I couldn't just run away, even though that was tempting, and I kind of left for a little bit on occasion. But I always knew that I had to get some degree so I could go on and go to college and get education. I saw that as my ticket out. And so I ended up finally, like, I ran away again, was living on the streets and crashing like in a desert park for a night and my dance studio for a night, and nobody wanted me around. Nobody wanted the homeless kid, the weird kid. Like, this was a town where nobody was gonna take you in or talk about it, you know? It was horrible. And I decided to skip my senior year of college, or high school. So I did a year and a half of high school in the second semester of my junior year. I had no money. I didn't know how you applied for college. I didn't know what financial aid was or how that worked. My parents weren't going to support me at all or give me anything. And somehow I just, I was in California and I realized state schools were the cheapest. And so I wasn't even like cognizantly like, I'm a lesbian, I must get around gay people, but I had a dream that I was in San Francisco walking around and I was happy. So I decided I was gonna go to San Francisco State, and somehow filled out the application, borrowed the money for it was a cheap application luckily for state schools then, from the woman who owned my dance studio. Got in, begged my way into housing. Somebody taught me how to fill out a FAFSA, and I took out loans in my name and got some student aid, and I packed my stuff. I was 16, maybe I just turned 17. Packed my stuff, drove to San Francisco, and never went back. I had no money. I didn't know one person in San Francisco. I was a child. I had never really interacted with the world. And, I think that all those, I should say logistically, I started applying for work before my first day of school. And I had to drop out of school at one point and work full time. It was hard. But I think all those years spent hating life, I visualized so much what I wanted life to be. I wanted these diverse people. I wanted to fall in love. I wanted, good friends, and I wanted creativity, and, all to travel and to think and to write and to create things. And I thought about that enough that like my brain was just really to push it out into reality. And it was hard, but I loved San Francisco. I started holding public office when I was 19. I graduated from San Francisco State. I made some amazing friends. I connected with people and defined for myself what family was, what extended family was, how amazing the gay community is for just taking people in and supporting them, because it's such a part of the culture that you don't really see until you experience it. It's not what they tell you on television, really, but the support and the love and the creativity and the fighting back against the hardships we've all had, and we got through it and we created these amazing lives. And so, I went to grad school at Harvard, which is insane. I could never have envisioned going to Harvard. I've lived in all of these cities and traveled and had the most amazing and wonderful friends and extended family and do what I love and just am surrounded by love and beauty in the way that I spent so many years somehow believing it could happen, and nobody told me it could. There was nothing saying that it could, but I just fucking believed it, and it did. So I'm so glad that all those times where I felt like there was no other option, I didn't know what I was going to do, that I just waited and kept working and read things that inspired me, or found the good people around and clung to them, and built really solid relationships, because that's what got me through. It gets so much better. It is amazing once you come out on the other side, because the world is a blank slate at that point, and you can create whatever you want, because the world you were born into, the world people told you should live like, if it's not who you are, you do whatever you want, you say, I want to live like this. These are my values. This is where I want to, work. This is what I want to do. These are who I love, the people I love. This is the family I create. And if everything is telling you that can't be true, you decide what's true and you create it. And it's a beautiful thing. And just please hold on. Work hard, keep dreaming, find the love and the good people where you can, and you're going to be okay. It gets better. It gets so much better.